Good morning, hello, and happy new week. Let's see. So I nicely saved off where we were working at on Friday. So we can see here that we're writing an update method for, I guess, updating a book here. So I guess we'll just get into it and do our update. So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to find the book, don't we? We need to find the book, and then we can do we can turn it into an active connection, and then set whatever new things are on here. I'm pretty sure that's what we want to do here. So let's find the book first. So if DB book. Now I believe we should have the ID here. Let's see if we can grab that out. It's an option. So this should be an error if it doesn't work. So okay, so once we have that, then we can give it this ID. I just want to get one book. Pass the DB. We'll await question mark U. Okay, that gives us an option model. So if this doesn't have anything, then I can't do an update, can I? So I probably just want to return okay, right? Like we're attempting to update nothing. I don't necessarily want to error out. So we'll just return okay like that. Zilby, you okay? I heard him meowing / jumping off the walls in the other room. I think he's trying to get me to go play with him, but I'll have to play with him later. Okay, so I have a model now, and I want this to become an active model. So let's convert this. Oh, and that just works like that. Okay, so into an active model. Now I want to set. Okay, now I want to set various things that are inside the book. So we'll do DB book. All right, so field, we don't want to allow us to change the ID, but we can change the name. So we'll do name equals, I want to set this to be book.name. You're not an option, are you? So you have to. We're only going to set the name if it's been updated. Otherwise, we could try to set it to be nothing. That would not work out well. Um, Kako Mixtel Labs. Hello. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's your stream today? What are you working on? And Henaro AOE. Hello, welcome. How are you doing today? You're working on Rust game development. You're creating a multiplayer game from scratch. Are you using a framework at all, or is it really a scratch? Because that sounds really interesting. All good. You're working a multiplayer game with Rust, Actix, and Bevy. Oh, I haven't looked at Bevy in a long time, but it looks like it's been coming along pretty well. How are you liking it? And Actix is a pretty good server too. So it sounds like a really nice stack. I don't know anything about multiplayer. Like I've looked up some stuff because I wanted to try some out, like creating like a server and setting up some kind of like real-time multiplayer, but I never got past like just the basics of looking that up. And my coworkers at my day job have chatted about it a few times too. How would we implement some kind of like multiplayer system for real time? And it's we don't none of us have like that type of game dev experience, so we don't know the best things. All I know is whatever I've learned from watching GDC talks. It's a complicated question. That's okay. It doesn't need to be answered then. But anyways, thank you for the raid. Thank you for hanging out and coming. Could recommend some resources? Absolutely, yeah. I'll add it to my reading list or watching list, and when I eventually have time to go back into doing some like light game dev type things, then I'll try them. I'll try that out. You saw Axum, thought it sounded like something cool. Yeah, so Axum is a backend framework. So think something similar to Actix Web for just like creating a server and a backend, except it's in Rust. It's different technology than Actix Web. It's a competitor. It's written by the people who make Tokyo, so it works extremely well with async await stuff. And it's fairly new. It's 0.6 something right now, and people are chatting about 0.7 being the next major update coming out, but it's sort of unknown when that's going to happen. Any day now is basically the idea. It's so far I'm enjoying it. There's some things about it that are a little bit sort of a little bit questionable maybe. One of the big things is error messages when you're so no, I need to be over here. Chantilly Cake, hello. How are you doing today? In the router, I could bring in things like this, so I can say, okay, I want the state to be injected in, and okay, that's great. I want JSON to be injected in, which is great. Okay, so they're using basically enums to give yourself the dependency injection. It looks really cool. I can do this in almost any order that I want. But if I take a body injector and I put it not last, so I put this first and I save, I get this nasty error here. So trait the trait bound function JSON extract state. Okay, so the trait for this function impl to a future is not satisfied. Other types implement this trait, but what they're really saying is that the JSON needs to be last. That's what it is really trying to tell you. And that's that is something that's really hard to sort of see. Oh, you also use Alacrity? Oh, nice. Yes. I've been using Alacrity. I've been using Helix. They're all really good technologies. I like them a lot so far. And yeah, Axum, like, I like Axum a lot. Like, that's, I think, one of my biggest gripe is this. And my second biggest gripe is the documentation, or rather, lack of alternative documentation. The currently, the only place to get anything about that is the Rust docs. So the official Rust docs, which are okay. But with all the other projects now having like websites with like documentation books alongside the Rust docs, it's kind of there's a lot of good competition, basically. But I understand they probably don't want to write any of that until they've solidified to like a 1.0, and that makes sense. So you don't need Serde when using Axum? No, I do need Serde. So for example, okay, so we could see I want to bring in this book, right? So this JSON extractor is, I'm saying, I'm going, when I hit this API route, I'm going to send into the body with a post a book. So a book looks like this. So I am absolutely using serialize and deserialize here from Serde. And so if I hand it anything that implements serialize or deserialize, I guess like in this case it would be deserialize, then it will take that and turn it into, well, the object here, and then I'll get that inside of my route handler. And I can do the exact same thing in middleware too, where I can then just grab, okay, well, this is the JSON object that was coming in. Or if it was a string, then it could just be a string that I hand instead of JSON. And it can be a vector of objects too, if I want. And it can be as deeply nested as necessary. And all the normal Serde tricks that that we know and love, we can do them all. So like all the renames, all the other stuff, all that just works out of the box. And I don't really need to ever use Serde JSON. Just Serde is fine. When I respond with something, I can just use that same JSON, the same JSON enum or struct. I can't remember anymore if it's an enum or a struct, but the same one works in both extracting and responding, which is also really nice because it makes it super simple. You only have to understand it in one way, and then you have to go. However, as my stream can attest to, that's the biggest thing I forget. I constantly forget to wrap it inside the JSON struct, and so therefore it will error out me and telling me, hey, I don't know what to do with this object. You have to wrap that in something. And we're currently working with a Postgres database. I have one spun up in Docker, and I want to, we're doing an update on that. So basically I take in a book. So I take in JSON book. I'm going to hand that to this function, this update function here in the queries file. We're going to get out the ID, and if we don't have that, we're going to bail out. I really like using error, EYERE, RE, as my error handling, sort of like result library. Jane Eyre is a fan of tons and has done Twitch streaming in the past. So as soon as I sort of like saw that, I'm like, well, that's my new error handling library. Let's see. Then I find I get a book from the database. So make sure that we find that. If we don't find that, I'm just going to return and pretend, yeah, sure, totally did the update. Everything was fine. Don't worry about it. If I do find it, I come over here and I turn it into an active model. So this is a CORM thing. So now it's an active model. I can then start making updates to it. So I can say, okay, I want the name to be this name, but only if we pass this in. So this is going to be, I guess, technically non-atomic, because you would set, like, if you missed the name, it would set it to be nothing. But I can't really do that in the database. So let's see, we got book that. Okay, so then the next thing, let's what's my, okay, got models book. What it was in here. So we got name, oh, price in stock. Price and in stock is the only other thing. So, with Helix, I keep on, like, that one I forgot to go into insert mode when I try to do some commands. That was fun. Okay, so we have price. So if let sum price equals, okay, book dot price, then our DB book price. I have to run this inside of a set. This is, oh, it's a function set. Okay. I keep on thinking with the capital S, it's actually a struct, but it's really a function. And then throw in price in there. Okay. What are you upset about? You want it to be a string, and you are, oh, why am I still doing book.name when I have the name right there? You need to be mutable. Okay. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention what this project is. So I am building a course for Axum to teach that, and right now we're working on this plan. This is going to be an assessment, sort of like something you can do as you're taking the course to verify, hey, have you learned this? And this assessment is all about CORM and connecting to the database. And so it's going to be basically assessing all of these things in purple here. So creating migrations, setting up seeds, connecting to doing CRUD, that kind of stuff. So I named this the Bookstore API because with the bookstore, I can have books and authors, and that's a many-to-many. I wanted to make sure that I had at least one many-to-many inside of this. And so I'm working on, I'm building it out. The way I do this is I build the entire thing out in the main branch, and then I can cut off a solution branch from that, and then I just delete everything other than the basic setup. So that way you still need to do all the stuff relevant to the database things, and the assessment itself you need to do yourself, and then you can go look at how I did it if you get stuck. Or if you just want to compare, like, hey, here, how did you do that? Do I deploy the container? Right now, the container only has the database inside of it. So I certainly could, if I put everything else in. I'm not sure, like I'm gonna teach some kind of deployment system, but I'm not exactly sure what my choices are gonna be. I think right now I'm thinking about doing shuttle, and GitHub Actions together. So GitHub Actions and shuttle. I don't think I'm gonna do anything else right now for that, but like DigitalOcean with a VPS, AWS with VPS, those are certainly viable and optional. I could do Heroku and a Docker deploy, and I think there's a few others that I could do too, but Heroku's no longer free, so it's no longer my first choice. And shuttle is free. At least they have a free tier, so I'm very like attracted to that. I don't want to basically say, hey, purchase this course, and then have it like immediately be, and now you have to sign up for things that charge you money. I would rather whatever I use have a free tier at the very least. If I were to deploy this for real, for like a production thing, I might use something like ECS, Amazon's Elastic Container System service, Elastic Container Service. Yeah, I know. I keep on ECS for me is like entity component systems, but it's also Elastic Container Service. But yeah, I tend to go to that these days, especially if containers are involved. And it's not very expensive. It's surprisingly cheap. And if I throw everything that I would normally put into like a Lambda function inside there, everything can be running off of one essentially EC2 instance that's running behind the scene 24/7. It doesn't even go to sleep like old Heroku stuff did. Okay. I think that's all the 3 things that we have in a book that we want to update. So then I want to save the book. So I want to do a DB book. We save, pass to the database. And I don't really care about this, right? So then we can just question. Oh, we have to await you and then question mark. And so if you succeed, you get down here, we return okay. So we're good to go at that point in time. I can go to our router for book. Okay, so there's our book queries. So we update, we wait that, I map any errors out, and then we return no content. It's like, it's done. I think it'd be cool if you include it on your course. Maybe it's out of the scope, but just as some extra info. Yeah, what my plan is eventually. Once I have like a course actually up and running and going to create some extra modules for it. So it might be something like, okay, you want to learn how to deploy. Well, it's actually really, in order to pass this course, you would need to deploy it somewhere. Here are 5 modules that I've written for deploying to different services. You must choose at least one of those. And so it's like, okay, well, I want to learn how to deploy to ECS. And it's like, okay, well, go get the ECS, like deploying to ECS module. And I'll like, here's like, you get that for free. If you want extra on top of that, well, you could, pay a couple bucks for that. But that's sort of like the idea that I have right now. I haven't really like sort of solidified on pricing or like how that's going to work technically, but that's the idea. I might just end up like giving that all away too if you buy like the live service. And I don't have any plans yet for a subscription service. If I get enough content and it's popular enough, then maybe I'll do subscription. It's something I've noticed that some of the people that are in the same space that I'm about to enter into have done quite successfully. So I might go that way too. All right. I need to be successful in it to like really consider that though. All right, so if I update the book there, let's do runner tests. Let's see if that works. I got a 500 error. So what happened? So update book, panicked, assertion failed. Okay, got a 500 when we wanted a 204. So in a put, error updating book, error cannot update book without a book ID. Oh, so it couldn't find the ID of the book. Oh, because I didn't send the ID. Okay. That's why. I don't think the ID of the book is in here when I send it. Okay, so we create a new random book. I create that in API. I update the name and change it. Pika, hello! How are you doing today? All right, so I set the new name. I update in the API. Okay, so that's update in the API. I need to go to the API of the book with the ID here. So in my router, here's my put. So route to /books ID. Do a put on this. Update book. Okay. I need to set. Okay, I need to get the path extractor. So path. That. Okay, so what I probably really want to do is when I do this update, we hand it the book, and I also hand it the ID. So I don't need to get you out at all. So I just have that there. You went to visit a campus near your high school as part of a program from your school. Nice. Is there anything you're specifically looking for in a college? Expected. Oh, let's see. Expected a comma. I want. How did I? No. Oh. Yeah. Why did I put the colon in there? It's weird. It's a private college, and it's quite an experience. Oh, tell us about it. Is that the first one you've been to? I remember doing that a long time ago. Doing the college tours. All right, all the tests are passing. Okay, so updated book is passing. Let's remove all these. Oh, right. You're still upset here that not very happy that this yells at me that it's not being used. It's being used only by the tests. I don't really know how to get it to stop yelling at me. without turning on dead code, but I guess I'll just do that. Your first private college tour, the faculties are awesome. Facilities are immaculate, although the admission price are totally out of your league. That's yeah, the pricing has gotten really bad. It's it's really unfortunate. I wish that there was some, like, I don't know, kind of cap on how much like colleges could like increase year by year. That would have prevented us from getting into this situation. All right, that's all the warnings taken care of. I don't think I did anything that could possibly hurt the test, so that's good to go. Oh, hello, Zilby. I guess I'll try to get his head over here. Um, you think if you take advantage of the discounts and scholarships, you might get in, but it's gonna make you do something you hate trying. To take advantage of discounts and scholarships. Okay, fine. So I'll be maybe over here now. Actually studying hard. The yeah, it's different. It's different than high school. It's gonna be a different world than high school. And it's a combination of studying hard and also studying like really smart and learning what fires to work on to put out, and which things you're just like, you know what, I am not going to do that, and that's okay. Oh right, get all authors for their books is flaky. We'll have to fix that later. We'll do the last one, which I think is delete the book. Okay. Is there an only? I know that there's like a ignore. Is there? I don't think there's an only, right? Where I can just basically say like, hey, only run this test. That'd be nice. I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't worry about it too much yet. Uh, we tend to be able to step up to challenges when they come and hit us. It's oftentimes it's like about habits that we can set up. It's about keeping positive and staying like, staying in like sort of a good mindset, and then just like getting into a flow. And the next thing we know, we've done way more than we ever thought we possibly could have if we hadn't sort of like put ourselves into a challenge. And there's there's this idea of like sort of just throwing yourself into the deep end, knowing that like, hey, I may not be able to do this, but you then find out, can you do this or not? And I want to say that oftentimes we can surprise ourselves with how far we get. It's like, even if it's a little bit concerning about like how much work it is, that doesn't mean you can't do that. All right. How do I want to do? Delete the book. Okay. I want to create the book first. I guess like we're going to create the book and then I just delete the book. And then the book should no longer be in the book section. That makes sense to me. So we'll do create a new random. Create that in the API. Oh, on the financial side, that's the burden. Yeah, that is a concern. That's something that I was really hoping that the code schools would work out really well, as sort of like like a cheaper alternative to like a full college, but I think they fall in prey to the same problems that a lot of the colleges have, which is they're super expensive and they don't necessarily prepare you for the day-to-day work, which means what's the point of them then? So it's really rough. Yeah, I can see that. I know some people that do the like the 2 years sort of like a public community college path and then transfer in to a private school. I've actually known several people that have done that, and it's worked out for them. Like in the end, if you're trying to like choose a school to help get a job or something else like that, or like for the name of it, nobody cares if you went there for 2 years or 4 years. All they see is you graduated from there. It's like, even if you like just transfer in for like 1 year and then graduate, you're like, yeah, I graduated from this school. Don't worry about it. Do I want to create an author and assign? Oh, I can assign this book to one of the other authors. Which should then, okay, that should delete we should also delete the other thing. So let's do that. So I create the book. Okay, create an API. I want one of the sort of like a seeded author ID. Let's just choose that to be like one. One I think is the author that doesn't have. Let's do two. It's the author that has a book. At least one book. And ooh, what's the I think maybe it was author. This book. So I'll get one books. Maybe it was under author. Okay, associate author with book. Okay, so I create an author, create or get an author. Create the book. Okay, so it's on an author, have that associate with the book. Let an author, it's gonna be not like test author. Where is it? Test models. Oh, I named it create author. Okay, create author. Not reload. Get from new get from API. There we go. So new get from API. We added the seeded author ID. Did I not pull this in? I did not pull that in. Doda, hello. Am I evaluating a database? Not really. No, I'm creating an assessment for, I guess, manipulating a database. We're using Postgres that's sitting in Docker. I'm using CORM, and it's the assessment is basically going to be, hey, did you set up everything correctly? Did you set up migrations and seeds? And is that all working the way you expect it to work? I suppose if I write this correctly... No, I don't think... That won't really work, will it? I was thinking about, like, can I do it so it's like independent of technology? I might be able to. I want to do like after I've written all of this stuff, I think like I want to do a little bit of a rewrite, but I need to figure out like how I want it to really be, because this is like a really large assessment, but I think there's ways that I can do this a lot better, a lot cleaner. So that's what I want to spend a little bit of time doing. There's so much to databases, it's mind-boggling. Absolutely. Like databases is one of those like sort of T-shaped things where like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can get on the surface, but like you could also drill really deeply into the minds of data. Logging, performance tuning is a huge subject, and indexing. Yeah, and indexing is part of performance tuning sometimes too. There's definitely some times where it's like, okay, well, this query is taking, I don't know, 15 minutes, like, and oh, we added like the right index at the exact right place, and okay, well now it takes like 25 seconds, which is a significant improvement. But of course, the worst index experience that I've had, I mean, it was one of these things that like took the query from, I think it was it might have been a minute. It was at least 30 seconds. So our page load on a web app that we had for an internal tool was taking minimum 30 seconds. It might have been multiple minutes to run. And so it's like, okay, we'll load up this page, and then everything just sort of blank sitting there. And it's like, okay, waiting for it to happen. And then it just all comes in. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. Click, 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 go. And it's like, okay, it's got to reload all that stuff. And you're like, wait for a few more minutes. and then it comes back again. So we're like, okay, let's see if we can speed this up. We're using DynamoDB, and we had multiple gigabytes of data in the backlog there, or sorry, in DynamoDB. And so we're like, okay, well, let's add an index to it. And Amazon came back and said, okay, great. You've decided to create an index on this field with this multiple gigabyte size table. We'll have that index created for you in 4 weeks. And we're like, what? Really? Yeah, it took that long. I know, it's so much better to, like, if you know you need the index, creating that earlier than later is so much better. Creating it after the fact when you have a ton of data is another thing. So there's some cheats. There's some cheats that you can do. My favorite cheat is the materialized view. So let's say you don't want to create an index, or you just like can't figure out how to make things fast. So, but you don't need like instantaneous data. Like it's okay if it updates once per day, once per week or so. You can create a materialized view, which is just another table, but it runs a query at a schedule of your choice, maybe overnight, for example, and then it that basically creates a new table from the result of that query, and then that can be really fast to look up. So you can create essentially your own caches inside the database, which is really nice. And I think all of the major databases have this idea of a materialized view, although they sometimes call them different things. Oh yeah, and there's tons of indexes. Like I'm not a database admin. I know how to like install them. I know how to use them. I am not great at optimizing them. So like whenever I need to do that, I usually call up somebody. He's like, "Hey, what do I do? How do I do this?" And add that to my toolkit whenever something happens. Okay, so I could create an author. I've associated it with a book, with this specific book. So then next I want to, and we've already like tested all these other things out. So now I want to delete the book. If you include all the columns in the index, there's no bookmark lookups, which speed up a lot. Isn't adding all the columns into a database like it, but if you do that too much, it ends up being over indexed, and you run in like it basically stops being fast again. Or that might be just normal indexes. I don't know. I just remember that if you over index things in a database, you get just as bad as as under indexing. The penalty is in inserts. Covered indexes are expensive. Yeah. So that's where you also have to make the decision of like, how do you want to do that? There's also architecture sort of like methods to sort of cover this. I remember reading about one of the ways that Amazon has for AWS has handled for themselves different like slowness in databases, and working with that is just have code outside of the database help out. You can do a caching system and a queuing system to do the inserts, and have the inserts not happen at the time that you request the insert, and sort of like separate those out. And that can like make things speed up. So if you purposely optimize for gets and you make inserts really expensive, but then you do multiple databases, so you have like a write database and then read-only databases for the reads, then you can slowly insert the data whenever it's available, and using like a hue or something with commands, and then everything else is reading from like the really fast read-only databases. Right, read-only is just a secondary DB, but one thing you can do with a read-only database is you can not hit it too hard, or you can hit it as hard as you want, and you can have like the inserts hitting that and being really expensive for that database, and then read-onlys hitting, like if you're querying for those, you're able to like essentially insert at the same time that you're reading from, and you don't have to worry about some stuff. Like there's other concerns that now need to be set up, but that one generally isn't there. Plus, also, if you end up running out of memory or like really slowing down the database with the inserts, you don't want the gets to be affected. Okay, so I've got this. I want to delete the book. So I've been doing this inside of the book thing, haven't I? Okay, so I have test book. We import that. I don't know how much I like this pattern that I did here. I think I want to change this and do the calls in the test again. Oh, you've been trying to eat at home more lately? How's that going? Is it working the way you want it to? Oh yeah, for price, absolutely. It's almost always cheaper at home. That's not like always the case. Like if we get used to like really expensive ingredients, that doesn't help out that way. But for me also, everything everything like seems to have butter and like other things in it in the stores, and I can get it so much healthier if I make it at home. Seneco, hello. How are you doing today? Good morning. Okay, so if I just do that. All right, let's first grab the ID out of here. I don't imagine that getting previous sale prices would be hard. You just have to choose the right APIs, which hopefully are free and not paid for APIs, and then you just have them. The problem would be if you want to cross-reference them with multiple sources, because like one of them, the problem is that they may not be accurate. And if you have multiple sources, you can sort of average across them, or you can sort of like double check to make sure that they're like correct, but you almost guaranteed run into paid if you have to get multiple. And a fun data thing that has nothing to do with like APIs or something else. Be careful when looking at prices when it's always the requested price. It's like, okay, we're putting this condo is up for sale with this price. Doesn't actually mean that that's what the price that condos are going for in the area. That means just what that one individual wants to sell it for. Really, you want to look at what has actually been sold. I remember when learning that lesson, when like looking at things like on eBay, it's like, oh yeah, like these things are going for so expensive. And it's like, oh yeah, but nobody's buying it for that. Use the average yearly increases of prices to figure out if they put the price up or down this year. Yeah, it's interesting to see what people try to do. It's also interesting to see the drop over time as they say like, oh yeah, we want to sell it for this, and the next month, well, nobody wants to buy it. Let's drop it by like 5,000. Okay, let's keep on dropping until eventually somebody buys. Am I using Helix? Yes, I am using Helix. So I have Helix. I have I've set it up so that it's using Clippy with Rust Analyzer. So it's giving me all the extra goodies. And I guess I'm also using Zellige for my layout here, and Alacrity. So we're getting the trifecta of Rust tools. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is interesting, but probably not easy to find. Or rather, not easy to publicly find. I bet some of the real estate companies internally have that information. You have a weird issue and you have a warning proc macro not expanded in it. What is it just like a normal code? I want to say I've seen that before. Is it actually like the error that's coming up with like a red in the bottom left? Oh, so it's just a normal drive debug. Okay, so it's the procedural macro for debug to add in the impl. Okay, it's the top right error. I want to say I've gotten that error when usually it was something else blocking. I do notice that Rust Analyzer has a lot of trouble if there's like another error, and it sometimes doesn't tell you what the other error is, and you just have to go hunt around and find it, which really sucks. Macro from cert. Well, I mean, it's the same idea, right? It's generally something that's like attempting to like create an impl or something like that automatically with a macro. It's a derived macro. Sometimes it's helped when I restart. When I do that, I restart the LRS server. Sometimes that works. But if there's like a code in the if there's a code problem, then that might cause it too. Is your code on GitHub? We can try loading it up, seeing if it runs here and has the same problem. Okay, so I get the response. I want the status of that. Let's create a. Let's make that happy. I do notice sometimes that Rust Analyzer and all, it has a lot of trouble if there are any errors in the code. Like if I'm like missing a semicolon, it starts like getting weird about other errors around, and sometimes catches them, and sometimes those like macro type things might happen there. So like, I don't know, maybe something weird is going on with that. I suppose it could also be configuration, but like Helix has so little configuration in there. I mean, I guess you could try like just clearing out the language config and just sort of making sure that there's nothing weird there, and double checking the what version and where are you getting Rust Analyzer from? Is it the one from Rust Up, or is it one like external? Because I did have some problems. I don't remember exactly what the problem is. I don't know if this is exactly one you had. I had some problems when I used the version of Rust Analyzer from Rust Up. And so I'm on a Mac, so I installed it with Homebrew, and that worked for me. So perhaps a different version, a different install location of Rust Analyzer? Okay, so I want... Okay, so I want this to be a status 204 that we get here. Okay, so I associate with you the book, then I want to take the book and I want to delete. And I want that to work. Right now, I think this will not work, so we should get a... Okay, we got the 405 method not allowed instead of the 204, so basically couldn't find the route, which is fine. Oh, and I already have book here, so... Okay, so that should make it now have not a 405 anymore. So now you are a... Huh, get one author with their books failed. Consistently? Consistently is failing. Okay, so what did I do there? I added in... So, books ID here. to delete book. That shouldn't have caused that to fail. It's not even, the delete route handler isn't even doing anything. Delete a book isn't working either. Well, it isn't even running that. It's stopping before those. Huh, interesting. Okay, so get one author with their books is running successfully. It's getting to 200, but all this is exactly the same. But you have a book here. You don't have the book here. No, you do have the book here. Oh, this one is supposed to have 2 books. Oh, it's because of my thing. Oh, because I associated it with this one. So let's not... Okay, I know what I did. I know what I did. In my book test, I'm using author ID 2, and I'm using that to test something else. So let's go to author ID 1. Save this, right? Oh, I've now done that. Now that I've created that, because I haven't actually done a delete with 2, that's gonna cause a problem. Okay, so I mean, this might actually work even with 2, as long as I clean it up and like actually do the delete. But I think we need to I need to do a quick reset of the database, or at least to delete this book. So this book is ID 83. Yeah, I don't see a 3rd book in there. Do I have a database connection in your test, or am I walking it? No, it's a real database connection. It's a local database that's running in Docker, so I feel that that's pretty easy to do. And I'm basically using the same environment variable, but I'm grabbing it. Oh, where am I grabbing at? Am I grabbing in these things? Oh, this is just doing API calls, so it doesn't need that. In the tests themselves, whenever I need one, so for example, in authors here, whenever I need a database, I just create the database connection right here. So potentially I might create a whole bunch of them, which I know that's not like great, but these are also tests, so I don't really care that much if it ends up getting a little bit slower. And so far it's been fine. But then I'm using the same entities and authors and all that as production. Production as the rest of the code too. So just the connection itself is what I'm creating. Okay, what did I wanted to do? I want to, I need to reset database. Let's create something right here. I guess, you know what? Let's do this down here. To the right of our, create a new pane for you. Oh, want it of that. Let's full screen you. Okay, so we have authors, and books. So what I can do is I can clean out everything. Okay, so everything that's after ID, that's greater than ID 3. So if I delete from book authors where book, I guess, yeah, I could do okay, where author ID is greater than 3. That should give us, okay, those few. And here's where that 83 one is. So I guess where book ID is there too. So delete from book authors where book ID is greater than 3 as well. Fakes for the DB or in memory databases is the way to go for testing it. Yeah. In a real situation, I probably would go for that. There's a lot of different sort of like theories in testing. I think one of the ones that has like a lot of promise, and I'm interested in sort of taking a little bit deeper look into when I have time, is boundary testing. Because that could be really good. That I don't have to test like the database itself. In this case, I'm testing not because I don't trust that the database doesn't work. I'm testing to make sure that the student actually put it into the database. That's what it really is. But it's the testing is for a different purpose. Okay, so that should reset all those. Senek redeemed Pet the Cat. Absolutely will pet Zilby. Hi, Zilby, you're awake. Oh, your eyes are open. You've done a lot of freaking around with the database layer at this point. Found in memory databases to be the best. Fakes work okay, but there are clearer downsides. Yeah. In-memory databases are pretty awesome. I do like them. I don't really get to work with them too often. He's enjoying the cheek petting. And this one's a combination of cheek and under chin petting. Okay, now you just want to lay it on my hand. Dude. We'll do good angle. Okay, I pet too much. Now he's in lick mode. Okay, so we got that cleaned up, which means the test should work again. Yes, okay, so now for this test, we got a 200 for delete book when we really wanted to get a 204. So, which means we need to actually do the thing. Which means let's start with book queries. Okay, so we'll get the DB and we'll get the ID. Guess we could be farther away. Okay, when we want to delete, we want to find the entity. I probably want to find the entity by the ID. So very similar to what we do up here. And we want to do that here. So we're going to find the model. If we don't find it, it's okay. We're good to go. Now, that being said, I could just run the delete on it too and just do the plain query. So this would be entity books, entity. Oh, I could delete. Okay, so delete by ID. There we go. Delete by ID. We exec it, hand the database, await, question mark U. So that's pretty easy. Do I have to tell it to like cascade too? No, not here. I think I have the relationship set up with everything, so I think the cascade should happen into book authors, but we'll find out. The Helix issue you just had to reinstall Rest Analyzer with Homebrew. It turns out having it in VS Code and NeoVim was not enough. Oh yeah. Interesting. Okay. That's good. It's good to find out. Oh, it's been a while since we've had one of you. So good hello and goodbye. That's nice that they added in I now have the little moderator icons in the chat as opposed to having to like click on the username, pop up the window, and then go find which one it is. It's nice. Okay, so let's go to router book. We have this delete book. We need to get the ID. So that's the path ID. I need to get the state. Which is the app config. We need to return a result. So if you're successful, it'll be a status code. And if you're not successful, we'll do a status code. I mean, in this case, I could just do a status code in here. Or we could do the status code response object. So I've been playing around with different responses, and so far I've not found any of these sort of like generic ones that I've really liked. So I think when I do the rewrite of this, I'm going to get rid of the response object, and I might just create some like named types that are just wraps around like results with different things. Because so far I'm not really happy with any of these. Okay, so I want to run the queries. Want to delete. We're going to pass it in a reference to the state DB and the ID. We await, and we're going to map the error. Okay, you're compiled. If I rerun you, I got the 500. Oh, I got it under associate author with book. Huh, what happened there? Oh, book authors violates foreign key constraint, foreign key book author book. I thought I had some in there already. Okay, so that's tempting. Okay, so we. Oh, Zilby wandered up. Okay, so this. Huh. Well, that's no fun. So when I deleted the IDs, they don't reset, but I don't think any of mine stuff should have cared about the IDs. And like I actually did the deletes, right? They still like exist. Oh, where's my? There it is. Okay, so I still have some of the U. I have a couple of U. And I have a few of U. And the problem was creating book authors. Okay, so it was straight up in the associating an author with a book. Error inserting book author. Error return from a database. Insert or update on table book authors violates foreign key constraint. Foreign key book author book. Because the book didn't exist. I have these 3 books here. Is it possible that it's a flaky test? Ooh, that's more likely. It's also a flaky test. Okay. So I am considering for the rewrite to remove myself from directly testing the database and instead just do gets and other things in just use the API to say like, hey, let's grab the information from the API. But I mean, that might work. I'll have to think about it a little bit. I'm not like still 100% sure how I want it to look and like which code I'm going to keep in and which code I want to sort of drop out and have not be there anymore. But okay, so everything here, that's fine. So deleting an author, deleting a book. Okay, those worked as expected. Okay, so after I delete the book, this is where I test the database again, right? Well, actually, maybe not. I want to... I associate the author of the book. I delete the book. I want to say... Okay, so I need the author to be mutable. Dot... Reload from the API. And now I want to see that you don't have any book, right? So author ID 1 has this one book in it, but doesn't have any other books. So now should not have a book in it anymore. So what would this be? It would be author dot saved unwrap you data. I want you to be is none. So I also want to see what you are. It's like maybe that's appropriate. I guess I'll just take a look at the author. Okay, so here's our author. The author's name is unpublished. Say the API saved version has the response object that has data, author. Okay, so the author and then the books. Okay, so it still has the books here. So that didn't work. And if we take a look at this, yeah, there's still this author here. So I guess let's reset you again and then just make sure that it's not something I accidentally left in a database. Okay, so that deletes all those. I guess we'll just come up here and rerun the tests. Okay, you don't have any books. That is correct. But I need to go into one more layer. So I go into the data. That's a something, and that gives me an author, which then have books. And then I want that to be is empty. So close. So data, unwrap you, books. I want that to be is empty. All right. And that's all of these books passing. Oh, sorry, all of these tests passing. We have that one flaky test. I think I have a couple flaky tests here, and I need to, as part of the rewrite, we're going to figure out what's going on with that. Maybe not what's going on, but like change it up to be a little bit better. I think I might end things a little bit early and like spend some time off stream thinking about how I want to rewrite this. Now that I've got all this stuff in, like, how do I want the assessment really to be? And that's mostly gonna be me like sitting down, like, you know, not talking and just like thinking about things, which is boring. And it'll be easier if I go and do that upstairs with a cup of tea. So I think we'll go ahead and end it here. With that, I will be back tomorrow morning around 6 a.m. Mountain Time to continue on this. I'll figure out what we want to do today, and then we'll start the rewrite tomorrow and get that going. So with that, thank you for hanging out with me today. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.